As Msizane Party, we call for free, quality and decolonized education, which is why we unequivocally reject Budget Vote 17. We further reject this budget on the basis that we do not have the confidence in the ministry and certainly not in the accounting officer in the form of the DG, who is alleged of gross misconduct, fraud and corruption, yet the minister fails to suspend or even investigate him. So we're not rejecting this budget because of all the things that you are claiming, Chairperson. We reject it because we do not have confidence in the ministry and the department to oversee this budget. The 2025 APP budget vote stands as a cold, indifferent document that dares to speak of plans and progress, yet it is shamefully silent on the agony of thousands of students whose futures hang in limbo. Nowhere does it mention the sons and daughters who have labored through years of study only to find their certificates withheld, their dreams imprisoned behind unpaid fees. It is silent and criminally silent on the settling of historical debt that shackles the poor of our youth, the forgotten souls who have fallen through the cracks as the so-called missing middle. Today, as I speak to you, there are students sitting at home, degrees earned but worthless in their hands, not because they lack ambition, not because they refuse to pay, but because they simply cannot afford it. It is silent and criminally silent. It is silent and criminally silent on the settling of historical debt that shackles the poor of our youth, the forgotten souls who have fallen through the cracks as the so-called missing middle. Today, as I speak to you, there are students who are sitting at home, degrees earned but worthless in their hands, not because they lack ambition, but because they simply cannot afford it. Tell me, how is it just that a child of a police officer who risks their lives and limp each day to keep our streets safe, but must be denied future because of debt? How is it right that a child of a nurse who attends to the sick and broken in the dead of the night is locked out of progress because of fees? How can it be that a child of a social worker who fights tirelessly to mend the woods of society cannot claim the price of education because the price is too high? And how is it in a country that calls itself free, does a child of a teacher, the mother of all professions, sit at home, degree withheld simply because their parents cannot pay? Or in a worst case scenario, they are financially excluded. These are families who sacrifice their lives, time and service to this nation, yet they are punished by a cold arithmetic of this NSFAS cap, trapped in a system that tells them that you earn too much to help, but too little to pay. So we must rise and ask, does this budget really and truly serve the marginalized and the working class and the poor? Or is it merely a ledger of numbers, blind to the tears, the pain, and suffocated potential of those whose only crime is to be born into poverty? We demand a budget that speaks the language of justice, of transformation, and of humanity. Until then, we refuse to be silent. We refuse to be silent while the youth of this country are sacrificed to corruption, mismanagement, and elitist policies. The National Skills Fund that has a 5 billion looted. We cannot ignore the scandal consuming the National Skills Fund. The Auditor General has exposed nearly 5 billion unaccounted for, money stolen from our unemployed youth and working class desperate for skills. This is not just mismanagement, it is an economic violence. Yet this budget proposes more pouring billions into the NSF despite the crisis of mismanagement and underspending of 3.7 billion last year alone. How can we trust an institution that cannot spend its funds effectively or even account for billions that have been lost? Let's address the issue of NSFAS, a program that is supposed to be a powerful lifeline for the disadvantaged, whilst we are still in pursuit of free, quality, decolonized education. However, instead, it was developed into a catastrophe of mismanagement. Over 128 million has been squandered due to fraud and ghost students. An additional 166.9 million has gone down the drain on extravagant offices leases and 18.6 million wasted on parking bays while our students are left to suffer. In 2024, the direct payment system failed drastically, forcing thousands of our students into homelessness, hunger, preventing them from purchasing textbooks or even basic sanitary products. The MK party demands that the NSFAS be dismantled and rebuilt from ground up. Enough is enough. The betrayal of the poor must end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Member.